Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, and radio network. What do we have in store for you on this edition of The Bar? A little Major League Baseball postseason primer. Going to go through and look at the series, who we like, who we're worried about. There's always one upset in the first round. Somebody goes down. Somebody doesn't make it to the NL or ALCS, at least now with this expanded process, 6 teams each. I like it. I like what we have now. I really, really do. So we're going to dive into this, and it's been a very good year for baseball. Postseason, we'll see. We'll see. What's a bad scenario? What's a good scenario? We're going to look at that. The Gators, Garroted. Yuck. What happened in Lexington was ugly, brutal, awful, embarrassing. But the Gators should still win their next 2 games. It should be 4-2 heading into Georgia. Right where they should be. So we're going to look at that. And also, the Sunshine State Serenade as we go around the state. The Jags, the Bucs, and the Phins. The Bucs, Baker's a bad man. Got this team 3-1. Tua, Dolphins, Road Warriors, they are not. And the Jags, London calling, take care of business. So we're going to look at that as well. Again, Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports Twitter, at Harp on Sports Instagram, auditory route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast. You want to check it out via the podcast studio. There's what you go, or there's where you do. Also, that's what you do. Good gracious, English. Third language for me tonight. Also, Harp on Sports Facebook page, The Bar, Harp on Sports YouTube channel, and of course, harponsports.com. Where should we start? Let's start with the Gators. Because that was ugly. It was ugly. What happened in Lexington just was nasty. Physically dominated at the line of scrimmage. When somebody dances all over you for 240 plus yards rushing or whatever it is, a single individual, you're getting dominated up front. And, Mark Stoops is a heck of a football coach, and he proved it. Kentucky keeps upping the ante. You wonder if a school like Michigan State finally sees somebody like that and goes and gets them. But if you're Stoopsy, heck, 8-4, 9-3, you're loved. You go 9-3 at Kentucky, you're a god. You're going to make $8 million a year. He has a chance. And I mean, you look at where Kentucky sits now, and I know they got Georgia coming up, but Kentucky's in good shape here. Kentucky can say to themselves, not going to happen, but if Kentucky can beat Georgia, say, man, the East runs through us. How about that? But, no, from the Gators' perspective, Billy Napier now what? 1-7? 2-7? 1-7 away from home? 1-7 not at the Swamp? 1-7 away from the Swamp. 8-2 at home. I got that right? 9-9. This is all about winning on the road. College football is all about being able to win on the road. Ohio State won at Notre Dame. Notre Dame wins at Duke. Winning at home, great. But you're going to have to go on the road to win. Neutral site games for Florida. Waxed by Oregon State. Waxed by Georgia. And now I know they got a neutral site coming. Georgia again. You got to win some of these. Beating Tennessee at home. Oh, okay. Big win. Beating Utah at home. Okay. Going to Utah got worked. Got to win some of these road games, man. And look, the next 2 games, Vandy and South Carolina, I wouldn't be surprised at all Florida wins them both. Florida be 4-2. Skating into, 5-2, skating into Jacksonville, 5-2. Wouldn't that surprise me at all? Be favored against Vandy. I went through and looked at this. Remember, in terms of favorite, not favored, you have to look at the preseason where we are now. And I'm not one of these guys that falls in love with the latest. Oh my gosh. I'm the long guy, long distance runner, not a sprinter. And with this, the Gators, there were 4 games, we said at the beginning of the year. 4 games, they had to grab one of them. What were they? Florida State at home, LSU, inside, Utah game beginning of the year. Florida State at home, at LSU, Georgia neutral site, Tennessee at home. They had to grab one of them and not give another one up. Just gave another one up. So you've just swapped Tennessee for Kentucky. And now, look, if you take care of business, Vandy, Arkansas, South Carolina. Vandy at South Carolina, Arkansas. That gets you bowl eligible. And then you need to steal another one. Georgia, LSU, Missouri, Florida State. Missouri, you'll be an underdog. I'm just giving you games where I think Florida will be a favorite and where they'll be an underdog. Favorite against Vandy. They'll be favored against Arkansas. At South Carolina. At Mizzou are interchangeable. I think they'll be favored at South Carolina, Mizzou. Not right now. So of those three, Vandy, Arkansas, South Carolina, got to win them all. Got to win them all. Because you can't give another one of these back. Georgia, LSU, Florida State. Now, you could lose to South Carolina if you steal the Missouri win. I'm talking about getting bowl eligible. I'm talking about getting 6-6. This is where this team is. And, you know, having an elite quarterback, Graham Mertz does a nice job. He's a competitor. They didn't lose that game because of Graham Mertz. They lost that game because they got physically beat up front. But it's a Florida team that has struggled offensively. Kicked a boatload of field goals against who? Yeah. Kicked a boatload of field goals against Charlotte. Ran it up against McNeese. Great. And the atmosphere was too. Josh Heupel did not have Tennessee ready. Florida dominated, deserved to win that game. Got up. Now, Vandy, homecoming, 4 o'clock start. You win here, you got 4 wins. You start to say, okay, we really have to screw up down the stretch to not be bowl eligible. I said 7-5 at the beginning of the year. I'm liking my 7-5. That means 4-3 down the stretch. What does that mean? That would mean to get to 7-5, 4-3 down the stretch would mean wins over Vandy, Arkansas, South Carolina, and Missouri. Losses to Georgia, LSU, and Florida State get you to 7-5. But that got whooped against Kentucky. What's that, 4 or 5 against them now? And you have a senior class at Kentucky next year that will be going for the first sweep of Florida ever. You know, the last time they won 3 in a row was 48-51. You're going to have a Kentucky senior class next year. They'll be looking to be the first Kentucky class ever. Sweep the Gators. So, there you go. But Vandy at home, they should be fine. I mean, still a 7-win season with what they had. It'd be a good year. It'd be a great year, but it'd be a good year. From where they were last year, the schedule tougher to go from 6-6 to 7-5. Still a good year. But that was a whipping, man. Happens. From that to this. I'm going to look at the NFL as a whole here, or not as a whole, but the 3 big teams in the state of Florida. The Dolphins, the Bucs, the Jags. Let's start off with the Jags first. Jags did exactly what they needed to do. Ugly loss to the Texans at home, and all of a sudden the Texans are just pounding teams. But the Jags take care of business against the Colts, lose to the Chiefs at home, lose to the Texans at home. What do? They go over to London and get healthy and get good. Get back to 500, and now buckle up. And look, Trevor Lawrence, they seem to get centered, if you will. A little yoga term. Centered. Okay. Now we're back to 500. Now we go. Consistency is the king of the crown, or the crown of the king. It's tough to keep up there. And you fall asleep in the NFL for a week, you're going to get eaten alive. The underestimated Texans got drilled. Now they get back on track. All of a sudden, the Titans kind of figure it out a little bit and blitz the Bengals. The Texans are 2-2. It's an interesting division now. The Colts battle back against the Rams, but lose. It's a weird division. I still think the Jags are the favorite in this division. But now the Jags, uphill climb, will take on the Bills, who smoked the Phins. And I mean smoked them. Miami's one of these teams that, okay, are you ready? Are you ready? You know Miami is? Miami's Notre Dame. Miami's Notre Dame. Okay, that's nice. Now what against the big boy? On the road. You're good at home. Okay, what are you going to do at Southern Cal? Caleb Williams going to light you up? Okay. Oh, you're fine at home. What are you going to do against Michigan? Smack. What do the Dolphins do? Score 70 points last week. Unstoppable. Oh, my AFC comes through Miami. What did we tell you? Last week on this podcast, we told you, we'll see what you do in Buffalo. You go up there and you win, you show me something. Went up there and got worked. Capital W, worked. W-E-R-K worked. I mean, that was just a drilling. And, you know, I look at Josh Allen too. Remember after losing to the Jets, everybody was talking about Josh Allen. Josh Allen, oh my God. Josh Allen took a step back, and after the Jets game, like, it doesn't look good. Since then, what have they won? They've won by a combined 75 plus points. He's got 850 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Yeah, he's awake. Josh Allen's awake. Ever since losing to the Jets, they've been beating the living piss out of teams. I mean, they have been tub thumping people. So now, if you're the Jags, okay, got back on track. Nice one over against the Falcons. Here come the Bills, and the Bills are like that hungry tiger that hadn't been fed in a month. And now Hamlin's back. They got a chip on their shoulder. They're angry at the world for whatever reason. You know, we talked about the Dolphins being the team to beat, and they look good. And then the Bills grab that. The Chiefs are going to be 3-1. Okay. The Bills now? The Bengals have kind of fallen back to earth here. Is it Buffalo? We'll see against the Jags. If the Bills come up and hammer the Jags, then you have to sit there and go, okay, now the AFC seems to be heading back up to Orchard Park, where it was a couple years ago, where it thought it was going to be last year until things fell apart on them in December. Because remember, they beat the Chiefs in Kansas City last year. Look good. What happened at the end? Josh Allen started turning the ball over a lot. They lose a Bengals game. That Bengals game gets delayed or postponed because of what happened with Hamlin, and they get smoked in the postseason. Everybody bails on the Bills. And lastly, here in the NFL, Baker Mayfield deserves a ton of credit. He does. Baker Mayfield deserves a ton of credit. Got the Bucs at 3-1. Talking about how the Bucs may not win 3 or 4 games all year. Now the Bucs are 3-1. How? Not turning the ball over, maximizing their possessions. Baker's not turning the ball over and maximizing their possessions. And going to New Orleans and thumping them like that, like the Saints aren't I thought the Saints were the best team in that division. To go in there and beat them by 3 scores. What's the thing? The first time ever in the history of the Bucs organization, they beat the Saints 3 straight times. Now, Evans out. You look at the next 2 games. Bucs host the Lions. Bucs host the Falcons. Okay. If this team's legit, you could lose to the Lions and beat the Falcons and you're 4-2. Yeah. That's kind of what we expect, right? Lose at home to the Lions, beat the Falcons. Probably beat the Lions, lose to the Falcons. They split these next 2, 4-2. And if you are the Bucs, I think 10-7 wins that division. And you're 3-1. So 9-8, 10-7, right around there. If they beat the Lions and then all of a sudden the Falcons at home, you're going to be saying, wait a second. Beat the Lions and beat the Falcons at 5-1. Now they got a bye. They're 3-1 and they have a bye. That helps the Mike Evans situation. But good gracious. Back-to-back home games now, 3-1, looking at 5-1. What's amazing about this is they're 3-1. Here's what was impressive to me. Not only what they did possession-wise, not only what they did structure-wise, it was a short week. To get drilled like they did Monday night and 5-6 days later bounce back and go on the road and do what they did, yikes. Yikes. All right. So, big thumbs up for the Bucs. Big thumbs up for the Jags. Oh, my God. Dolphins. They went to Kansas City and won last year, too. Just got drilled. So, I know they play late in the year. Is it the last game of the year that they host the Bills? Maybe that'll be for the division. Maybe. But pounding on the Broncos at home and whipping everybody in Miami, it's fine. But, I mean, if you get the top seed, that's fine. But teams like Kansas City can travel. Jags can, well, get a good offense and have a good, strong defense. You can travel. All right. Baseball postseason. And I went through and looked at this. What a bizarre postseason. With the Jays and the Twins, the Rangers and the Rays. I mean, those are wild card rounds in the American League. Jays, Twins, Rangers, Rays. And then what do you have waiting? You got the Astros and the Orioles waiting in the wings. Boy, it's a weird, no Yankees, no Red Sox. Not that the Red Sox and Yankees made it last year. Or the Yankees did, didn't they? I mean, I look at this and I say to myself, What a bizarre setup in the American League. Now, the National League feels a little bit more like home. The Phillies are there. The Braves are there. The Dodgers are there. Okay, all right. I mean, the Brewers played well down the stretch. Diamondbacks, that's a team I don't know what really to make out of. Overall, your dream scenario for a postseason is what? Dodgers, Astros? Dodgers, Orioles, mate? Your nightmare is what? Well, the nightmare would be Marlins, Rays, wouldn't it? Or Blue Jays, Marlins, Blue Jays, Diamondbacks. Oh my God. If you get a Blue Jays Diamondbacks World Series, world may end. But looking at it, I went through and I looked at this trying to figure out what I think is going to happen. In the National League, let's start off with this. The Brewers with Yelich and Adams, pitching what they have. I don't see the Diamondbacks beating them 2 or 3 times in Milwaukee. So I got the Brewers. And then the Marlins and the Phillies. I mean, Phillies have been here, done that. They're postseason tested. Strong manager. I like the Phillies and the Brewers. And then I was trying to wrap my mind around this. Phillies aren't going to beat the Braves. I don't know who the hell's going to beat the Braves. I'll get the Braves in a second. And then Brewers and the Dodgers. The Dodgers have a little dysfunction. They win 100 games, but it'd be nice to have dysfunction and win 100 games for the 3rd straight season. Freddie Freeman, they hit like monsters. How do you bet against them? Well, you bet against them because of who they're going to play. So I got the Dodgers over the Brewers in 6. I've got the Braves over the Phillies in 5. And then I've got the Braves over the Dodgers in 6. Crying out loud. They've got 5 guys with 30 or more home runs, right? Olsen, 54, Acuna, 41, Ozuna, 38, Riley, 37, Albies, 33. Got 5 guys at 33 or more home runs, and then you look around, Rosario's got 21. Murphy's got 21, and then Harris and Orlando each have 17. 18. Man, they got their 9th guy in their lineup in terms of power has got 17 home runs. That's 7 guys hit more than 20 home runs this year. The 309 home runs or whatever it is for a franchise. Man, when you got good pitching like they do and you hit bombs, not betting against that. Great pitching and bombs in the postseason. What, in Strider and Elder? So, Braves out of the National League over the Dodgers in 6. In the American League, the Rangers dropped 4 in a row. So the Rays are sitting there licking their chops. The Rangers have just lost 4 in a row. So give me the Rays over the Rangers and the Jays and the Twins. I'll take the Twins. They're at home. And then the Twins against the Astros. The Rays against the Orioles. That what we're going to have? No, that one's... I don't see over 7 games. The Orioles are just better than the Rays. So give me the O's and the Astros. Astros beat the Twins. The Orioles beat the Rays. And I'm a sucker for what the Astros organization is. They just reload. And Altuve and all these guys, they just hit. Seager, these guys just... Well, I had Seager. I mean, they just hit. And their bullpen and just... Verlander. He goes out and once he go 6 innings the other night, gives up 1 run when they had to have it. They win the division. They're hot at the end. Astros over the O's in 6. So Stros over the O's in 6. I like the Braves over the Dodgers in 6. And when it's all said and done, give me the Braves over the Astros in 5. The Braves win the World Series. Just loaded, man. That Braves team, good God. Looking at that again. Olsen, 54. Acuna, 41. Ozuna, 38. Riley, 37. Albies, 30. Man, some teams would kill to have 2 guys hit more than 33 home runs. They got 5. 7 over 20. They are 7th hitter in the lineup. 21 home runs, 90 RBI. What? That's not how you beat them. I don't. Not in 7 games. Not 4 times in 7 games. I think it'll be a good postseason. Braves Astros, pretty good World Series. What's the nightmare? We say Rangers Diamondbacks. Oh my God. Marlins are the Diamondbacks. Rangers Diamondbacks. Rangers Marlins. Blue Jays Diamondbacks. Ugh. Dodgers are the Braves. I like the O's. Now, what would be a cool one? Not going to happen. But I think off the beaten path, Brewers Orioles, Brewers Twins, but we're not going to get those. Harp On Sports, the podcast, media, audio, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp On Sports Twitter, at Harp On Sports Instagram, Harp On Sports auditory route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Harp On Sports Facebook page, of course, Harp On Sports, the YouTube channel, and harponsports.com. Remember, stay clean, stay focused, stay strong. October's here, baby. Frankenstein, have fun with your friends.